Hey everybody, welcome back to Paramedics and Pints. Today we have a couple of guests, Chris as always, and then one of them I like a little bit more than the other, I guess, just my wife, so I guess I have to say that. Big fan. We have Ali and then Nide, which if you've seen our podcast before, familiar face. So yeah, today we are going to be just kind of jabbering, shooting the shit a little bit. We're going to start with a wheel roll. Wheel roll? Spin the wheel, you know. Yeah, that's the words I meant. And then we'll see what our topic is and see what kind of stories we can flesh out.
Okay. You go first. Honor's yours.
Oh, I'll give it a real
wow,
spin. Come
that
on.
was... Try again.
Spun a lot.
There we go. Use your muscles.
I think it landed on the exact same spot.
Humble pie.
Humble
Put that over there.
pie.
Humble pie.
Humble pie.
What's the time you guys have been humbled doing this job?
I was distracted by the pie segment of that. We have to think on that.
I've got a good one.
Go.
Okay. So my partner and I had like a sick person JPA, which means that like no fire response, just us, right? We get to this person's house. I'm kind of already like suspect going into it, given my like experience. I mean, the dispatch notes had read something along the lines of like 50-some-year-old female complaining of generalized weakness, wants to go to the hospital. Like already says it in the dispatch notes, like wants to go to the hospital. And you're like, fine, okay. So we show up. She's already in her garage. She's ambulatory. We like walk up to her. I'm once again going in with this preconceived notion of like, I know exactly how this call is going to go. I'm not even looking at my partner for any help at all. I'm like, let's just get her on the gurney and like, let's go to St. Luke's, right? Or whatever hospital we use.
That was a good save.
Yeah.
The generic hospital.
Yeah, the generic ER, right. So she gets on the gurney. We get her in the back of the rig. She's kind of giving me like this whole story, which tracks with like what she's saying. She's like, I haven't been eating or drinking for like the last couple days. I think she had recently been off of her pain medication. And so I, once again, am just kind of flowing with this train of thought of like, I know how this call is going to go. I know what's wrong with her. She's, failure to thrive. She's, off her pain meds. So she's probably withdrawing in some, way, shape, or form. All her vitals are checking out. Of course, though, like we always teach in EMT school, like get a temp and a glucose, right? But in my mind, I was like, what do I need those for, right? We're on our way to the hospital. She has no history of diabetes, nothing, right? And of course, like, I probably should have been clued in and been like, oh, she hasn't been eating for the last couple days. I need to get a glucose. But it kind of just went in one ear and out the other without me really thinking twice about it. Just because she looked fine. Everything else looked fine, right? I mean, I was basing it off of how she was presenting. And with no history of diabetes, I mean, technically some people can go quite a while without their glucose showing any sign of like hypoglycemia, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking this is fine, everything's fine. We're like pulling into St. Luke's Meridian and I was like, oh man, I feel like I should just get a glucose. Like, why not? Like something in the back of my mind was like, get a glucose. So I pulled out the BG kit, got a glucose on her. It was 45. And I was like, cool. No, this is fine. We're like pulling into the back doors right now. It's okay. I was like, Mindy, slow down. That's my partner. Anyway, we come to a stop. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have you eat some glucose real quick if that's okay with you. She's like, well, I'm not really hungry. And I was like, I don't really care if you're hungry or not. I need you to eat this glucose, please. Like, please. Like, just the best you can. Just come on now. So she gets through one tube of glucose, and I think I rechecked her sugar, and it came up to like 65, and I was like, okay, it's better, but it's not great. And so I think I gave her another glucose tube as we got her into the hospital, and by the time they rechecked her sugar, I think it had come up to like 78. But it was one of those moments where like, even as an instructor, I tell the students like, get a BG, get a temp, and I didn't even do it myself, and I was very humbled when I pulled into the ER and I was like, cool. Her sugar is 45. Mind you, she didn't have any real like typical symptoms of hypoglycemia, right? Like no altered mental status. Like she wasn't diaphoretic. She wasn't sweaty, pale, none of that. Like I mean, responding appropriately to questions. I had no reason to believe that her sugar was below what it should be. But
Other than the fact she hasn't eaten in...
in generalized weakness,
Yeah.
chief complaint of generalized
Yeah.
weakness.
Could
Yeah,
be
no,
anything,
it's
though.
fine. Other than that, yeah. No, and so I just was so surprised, though, when it came back as low as 45. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, I missed the mark on this one. And ever since then, like, if there's any mention of... I mean, literally, I think I probably check it on every patient. Usually fire, though, is, like, so good about doing that before we even get to the house that, like, I never think twice about it. But because it was just us and I was like, what do I need a sugar for? I severely underjudged that situation and was very humbled when I checked that sugar and it came back as low as it did.
But I mean, you're responding well. You get sugars on everybody
Exactly.
now.
Yeah. So, we live and we learn. Like, I will say I definitely learned from that
A healthy dose
situation.
of fear of getting yelled at by a doctor
Yeah.
goes a long, long way.
Long way. Definitely, yeah. Because I was like, oh, I can just read the, like, note now. Like, patient presented with generalized weakness. Her sugar was 45. And I would have been like, yep. What? Who did that? Like,
Was that a really good EMT?
I like it to think of you and your partners like when you're like teenagers or
Yeah.
like 12 years old and your parents leave you at home and you get the call like, hey, we're 2 minutes away and like, the house is like a mess and you're like, clean up.
You vacuum, I got bathrooms.
hold on.
Sugar's 40. Eat the tube. One more.
It's what
One
it
more.
felt like. That's what it felt like in that moment. Yeah. I was a little
Real
scared.
fast. So mom doesn't find out.
Oh, yeah. It was a good one.
I got one. So I was just cleared as a medic, working with a medic that I'm friends with now, pretty good friends with, and we were dispatched to chest pain for a 28-year-old, and I was like, this checks
Sure,
out.
bud.
Yep.
Yeah, you really have a heart attack. He wasn't having a heart attack, sorry to ruin that. But when we got there, show up, 28-year-old side of the road, he's in his truck. Looks just like shit, just pale, cool, diaphoretic, just kind of lethargic. And we get him in the back, and I was like, so do you have heart history? Do you just have like chest pain? Is this new? And he's like, oh, no. I've got a pretty extensive viral cardiomyopathy that has thrown me into VTAC 5 different times. I was like, oh, you know the words. So I was like, okay, so this is real. And, the call was pretty benign after that, straightforward. But it was a moment of like, don't judge the book by its cover that aggressively until you get there. Like, dispatch notes are great, but they're always going to be the most accurate, right? And we always come with these preconceived notions based on statistics, right? Like, the likelihood is probably, 1 in a million, but sometimes you're wrong. And you definitely got to eat that humble pie.
Yeah.
Callback, see that?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I got one that you guys have probably heard. I've told it before, maybe not on this podcast before, but had a medic student who we all know. He's a medic now. He's in FTO, I think, actually, where he works, but he was a medic student then. We get called downtown, the same thing, right? It's always like the just single unit response. And it was PD got called to one of the local bars for somebody that got knocked out, and PD just called for an ambulance, right? Of course, the person's there unconscious and they call for one ambulance instead of the whole thing, right?
Awesome.
But so we get called out for that, and thankfully another crew was dropping off at the other local hospital. It was like, they might need some help. So they started 5 minutes after we got dispatched to come and help us. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. That's how you do things downtown. But so we get there, and there's a dude that was acting up in the club. So he got dragged out. He tried to punch the bouncer. Bouncer punched him back. We're not sure if he got knocked out when he got punched or there's a tree outside of the bar and his head apparently bounced off the tree and then the ground, the concrete. So we're not sure what caused the unconsciousness, but he was unconscious when we got there. All right, and so we go to like move him and get him up onto the gurney and everything. Like we're doing the C-collar and all that because he's unconscious. And as we start to like roll and put him on the backboard to lift him, he just starts vomiting everywhere. Just projectile vomit all over the place, right? So like, cool, now we need to intubate this guy, right? Because he's GCS of 4, like unconscious, vomiting. We're going to have to intubate him. And so we get him in the back of the ambulance. Other crew shows up. We start doing the thing. We start lines. We get everything prepped. And I'm like, pretty methodical. If you guys have worked with me, I'm pretty methodical, especially for like high consequence things. So it's really like, here's what we're going to do, talking with the whole team, here's whatever, right? So we're pre-oxygenating, we're getting everything ready. Everything's great. We're ventilating the guy good. We push the ketamine, which is the first thing we push for an RSI. Everything's good there. We're ventilating. We're all cool. We push the succinylcholine. and he loses all his muscle tone, and we can't ventilate him anymore. So we're bagging this guy, and the EMT that was doing it, like, when he gets nervous, he just looks down, turns really red, and I'd never seen him that red before, and he's just like staring at the floor, and he's like, he's like just stuttering, and we're watching the SpO2 go from like 98 to 90 to 70, 2-hand mask seals. We're doing all this stuff, right? All the cool medic stuff that we learn and everything, and nothing is working. And my paramedic student, who is an EMT, reaches into the cabinets and grabs a little piece of plastic we call an OPA. That's like the most basic thing you learn in EMT school, like the first thing about taking care of an airway. And he's like, "You guys want to put one of those in?" And so we put that in. Perfect. Lifts the tongue off the back of the mouth. Ventilation's going perfectly. SpO2 comes up. We intubate the guy. No issues. Give him the hospital. Everything was good after that. But that was a very humbling experience that I share a lot as an instructor of like, do your basic stuff.
Yep.
Check your glucoses.
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
Right? Don't come in with preconceived notions.
Yep.
Do your stupid little 5-cent piece of plastic. Like, I mean, my butthole was so puffy. Like, we were so scared because it's like, what are we going to do? Is SpO2's down to 65? Nothing we're doing is fixing it? Or am I just going to try to intubate? And yeah.
I think it's really good that we have those moments, though, because I think it's such a reality check, because we get so, like, adapted to the job, and we think we get so used to just going on calls and doing the same thing over again that, like, we often don't get reality checked. I feel like a lot of times, like, I feel like for the most part, at least where we work, right, is very, like, we're up there in terms of skill and knowledge and what we know. And so I feel like every now and then, though, like, there'll be a moment where you have a moment where you're like, oh, this is why they teach this in a basic EMT class. Like, get a glucose, put an OPA in, right? Like, it's always the little things, and you're like, wow, okay.
Well,
I get it now.
I'm pretty sure you've helped me on calls before where it's like, I'm going to try this new technique, and I'm going to do this new thing. And we had a GSW to the head, which did not start well to begin with.
Those never typically do.
No.
I'd say it's kind of
It's a
off
bad
to a
reason
bad
for you to
start.
be
Well, yeah, just that alone.
Yeah, my game plan got thrown off because when I walked up to the patient, the crew that was working before us had put in an LMA, and instead of bagging the patient, they just took an oxygen cord and just shoved it on the top of it and let him passively breathe through that. So my brain immediately was like, the fuck is that? I had this whole thing. I was like, I'm gonna go check on him. You guys are gonna come up behind me. Like, it's gonna be great. And then I was like, why? Like, and they're like, yeah, we didn't bring suction this time. And I'm like, why?
That's not even my question
That's
here.
literally
Why
the
is the patient
opposite of suction. That's out, not in. That's going back.
I was like, real quick. So not only is he not being bagged, you just have passive oxygen with an LMA in. And you don't have your suction, which you guys bring on
every call.
toe pain.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you guys. So we get in the back and we just learned like the salad technique, with the suction and the intubation. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill this. It was gonna be great. I'm gonna do like my tube with my suction, and then we're gonna make this look really cool. And I'm gonna brag to the medic that had this LMA cluster in before me, and I got a little too excited, so I had the blade in the wrong hand. So I was like, I can't see shit.
And she's like sitting there, like trying to figure this out for a solid. It felt like longer, but
I
it
got
had been
the
at
tube.
least 10,
I got the
15
tube.
seconds.
It just was this really weird.
And it
thing.
was funny because our supervisor was there too. So it's not like it's just her and I. It was a supervisor. It was another medic, the fire medic, and we're all staring at her like, why is this? Why can't we figure it out? Why are we having a hard time seeing what's wrong here?
And finally, Nita's like, I was like, dude, this is weird. I have like, okay, this is probably not the time to like really try this out. But so I was like, here, Nita, you suction. And so she was able to like suction it really well for me. So I could see, but I'm still ass backwards. So I was like, if I just got to really crank it over this way for some reason. That's weird. So I get the tube in. And then my supervisor is like, yeah, he's like, I'm you got that with your right hand. That was crazy. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like every time.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, your hands were backwards. And I was like, you sat there and watched me struggle bus with this and didn't say a word. He's like, oh, I thought you knew something I didn't. bro. He's like, but you got it. And I was like, yeah, after looking stupid in front of everyone.
So do you do like the finger thing now? Anytime you're like, blade.
Now,
Laryngoscope.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
an
yeah,
L.
yeah.
Laryngoscope.
I'm just
left
like, all right,
hand.
this is the first thing I grab now. I'm like, boom, this hand is taken. Like, everything else can go on this side. But it was weird. It confused me because the way that they did it in the class was the suction ended up on this side of your hand. And so in my brain, it was, it's here and the suction's here.
No, I for sure. I think like you're saying, those are good moments, right? Like, I mean, you know, especially having done this for a long time, like you'll see, especially with new people having FTO, like you're terrified, you're so scared of everything at first, and then you go for a little while and you're like, I can handle this, right? And then you get too complacent, and then the world just slaps you in the mouth real hard, hard. And then you're like, okay, like, oh yeah. And then you're scared again. And then you got about 3 years of that typically of like, you start to feel comfortable and then just like stabbed in the throat by a call. And then maybe year 3 to 5, you start to be like, okay, I can kind of get this. And I feel like year 5, you're like, I don't got it all, but I'll figure it out kind of thing. Like you finally realize like, I'm not that great at this, but I'm good enough to do it. Right. Like, and so it's a weird thing. And I feel like the people that have done it a long time have that mentality of like, I'm not perfect at this. I never will be, but I can handle it. Right. Because when you start to get the Paragod thing, like the universe is going to show you real quick what's going on for sure.
I got another humbling one. So I'm not proud of this. I actually use this as a learning for the students that I teach of like, don't let yourself get too emotionally involved in calls because you can definitely throw things off. So dispatch to motor vehicle collision, kind of more back roady. When we get there, it was a car full of teenage kids, which I'm sure my patient, I'm pretty sure was intoxicated. But as we get out of the rig, we're probably, I don't know, a good 30 yards or whatever from the car, and I can hear him screaming, I can't breathe, which my first thought is, pretty hard to scream this loud if you can't breathe, right? So get up there, there's an unrestrained kid in the back seat. He'd been thrown, they got T-boned by a bigger truck. So as we get him in the back, you know, I'm asking him questions, and his mom shows up, and so it was like, okay, he's a minor, he's, you know, let's go. And so as we're going throughout the call, I was like, you know, going through orientation questions. Who's the president? He's like, George Lincoln. It's like, okay, what year is it? 1872. Okay, so I looked at his mom. I was like, does he play jokes or is this something like for real? She's like, oh, he's a trickster. He loves to do this. So I then told him, it's like, hey, dude, like, I'm not asking these for my health. I'm asking for yours. And so he answers appropriately. But in my mind, I was like, that's strike one, buddy. So then he continues on as we're going. I'm like, you know, I'm palpating. He's like, yeah, it hurts there. Still screaming, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And so the next one was like, okay, you know, I'm asking a question. He'd be like, he would respond with things like, well, no shit, Sherlock, or sure, dumbass. And it's like, been called worse by scarier people. That's strike two, though, buddy. And so we're getting closer to which I'll come back to the medicine part I should have been paying attention to. We are going, we're almost to the hospital, and then his mom's like, oh, don't worry, you won't go to school tomorrow or whatever. And he turned around, he was like, yeah, no shit, bitch. And I was like, there we go, strike three, buddy. So I yelled at this kid, one of the first patient I ever really, really got after. So it turns out I gave him an IV, and I had started high-flow fluids. I maintained a systolic of 117 through a 25-minute transport. And it's like, that's probably a bad sign. Yeah, it turns out he can't breathe because he had a diaphragmatic hernia and his bowels were in his chest. He also had a grade 4 spleen rupture and a tibial plateau fracture on his leg there. Now, the only reason I feel vindicated about this whole thing is because the hospital ended up transferring him because he was non-compliant with staff there. But it was one of those of like, ooh, I really ate my decisions there, and I'm going to have to, and the QA was not kind. Yeah. Not a kind thing. But it was, you know, as far as like, I got really worked up because someone's in my face, like a teenager. I'm letting a teenager get under my skin. That honestly, still to this day, gets under my skin more than anything. But yeah, that was a humbling moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, diaphragmatic hernias, they can still breathe and talk, by the way. They just can't breathe, it turns out.
Yeah, your chest is filled with your guts, so probably a little
hard.
But
his stats were fine, no...
Yeah, everything else was fine. All vitals were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the part I'm really not proud of is that we ended up opting him in.
Yeah.
Not even code 3, huh?
Not
Yeah.
even code 3. Well, all his vitals were stable. And then it was when I was establishing, I realized at like 5 from the hospital that I was like, the pressure's not changing.
I'll say this is maybe similar to the topic in a different way, in a different perspective, though. I will say that, like, I work with the same medic partner every shift, right? But every now and then if I do trade or I pick up overtime, I work with someone different. And it's funny because recently I just had an experience where, like, I wasn't dealt the humble pie, but my partner was twice in 2 different shifts. And I was like, I feel like maybe this should be a sign to you that maybe that something else needs to happen here.
You're the problem.
And I will say, like, yeah, I probably should have said something as an EMT and, like, spoke up. But I think when your paramedic partner gives you the reins and being like, I think you can take this, you're like, oh, okay, like, this person has confidence in me. I can take it. Like, yeah, maybe generally speaking, my other medic partner wouldn't let me take this. But who knows? Maybe this is just a different person, right? Different working experience. And I'll say the 2 experiences that I had with this person recently, one of them was an allergic reaction. This girl was, I think she was like 19, 20, something like that. We showed up to her house. Fire had already checked her out. She does have, like, obvious, like, signs of allergic reactions. She's got hives. Like, I mean, that was kind of like the biggest thing I would say. She didn't have any tongue swelling, nothing like that. They had gone to the ER, I believe it was the night previously. They didn't find anything. They discharged her home with, like, some Benadryl and was like, good luck, right? So we go on her, and she's saying it's completely worse. The hives have spread. They're across her chest, her tummy, her legs, and, like, splotches around her arms. And so it's, like, obvious it's an allergic reaction. In my head, I'm thinking this is going ALS, right? Because if I were a medic, right, I'd probably want to give famotidine and Benadryl again, right? Get a 4-lead on the patient, right? But my medic partner seemed to believe that I was capable of handling it. So I was like, okay, I guess. Like, she's not having any tongue swelling, right? I guess in my head, I was like, okay, well, I could also see the flip side, right? There's no airway obstruction. Like, she's doing well in terms of vitals, right? But, I mean, yeah, her skin signs don't look good, but, I mean, to each their own, right? So as we're on our way to the hospital, her pressure keeps dropping. And I'm like, we, like, pull in, and I'm like, hey, she's not doing well. Her pressure went from being, like, 124 to now, like, 88. And she was like, okay, you want to throw that 4-lead on for me? And I was like, yeah, no, for sure. But it was in that moment that I was like, remember how you gave this call to me back on scene? Maybe you should have just kept it for yourself, because now I'm in an awkward position of, like, I already called into the staff and was like, we have kind of an allergic reaction coming to you. She seems to be stable. But then as we pull into the hospital, my partner jumped in the back, gave her famotidine, gave her Benadryl, as probably we should have done in the first place, right? So humble pie served for her. I would say I wasn't the one dealt it because I felt like I knew what should have happened, but generally speaking, I probably should have also said something, but that's kind of a hard thing to do, right? When you have someone who's above you in terms of, you know, pay and, you know, scope, practice, right? And they say you can do it. You're like, okay, I can do it, right?
I can do this.
Yeah, like, okay, like, I believe in myself.
Thanks for trusting
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
I mean,
right.
when you get EMT of the year twice,
Yeah,
you know?
right? Yeah, you
Wow.
think you're like, okay, maybe other people, if they believe in me, I can believe in me. So
External validation, that's what matters.
right, exactly. So then literally this had to have been maybe 2 weeks later. This was recently, like 2 weeks ago. We go on another call. It's middle of the night. It's 3:00 in the morning. We go on this lift assist. Fire had already been dispatched. They called for us to come in. So I'm like, okay, like, she must have hurt herself. It didn't end up being just a lift assist. I'm reading the call notes. It's like a 60-some-year-old female that had fallen and also had, like, stage 4 cancer. And I was like, okay, like, that makes sense. She's probably weak, just needs to go to the hospital and get checked, right? We show up. I'm, once again, totally expecting this to be my call, like, fully prepared to take it. I must not have heard what Fire had said was her initial, like, vitals, because no one seemed to be, like, not freaking out, but no one seemed to, like, be like, hey, by the way, her pressure wasn't good. So I didn't hear anywhere in the conversation of them saying that, so I just assumed that it was probably normal. We get her on the gurney. She's just saying that she's, you know, weak, you know, kind of dizzy, lightheaded, but that's all her normal, right? I mean, she's battling cancer and she's going through chemo. Like, that's what I would expect, right? She's just weak. We get in the back. I'm like, okay, well, like, do you care if I get an IV started on you? We'll give you some fluids. We get an IV started. We're, like, getting her pressures. They're coming back at 98, I think was the one that we had, or 95 before we had left the scene. I asked fire, I was like, what was the pressure you got inside? And they were like, oh, it was 78 with her sitting on the ground. And I was like, oh, it was? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, cool, good to know, copy. So this whole time after they told me that, I'm thinking my partner is going to take this because if her initial pressure was 78, right? She's hypoperfusing. This is her with her sitting on the ground. Like, she hit her head. She's not on blood thinners, but she's got cancer, right? Like, I mean, there's all these variables that kind of seem like it would be, hey, ALS, right? But once again, my partner was like, do you want to take this call? And I was like,
No.
I mean, her last pressure is 95. I was like, well, I can, but like, are we understanding each other that, like, she could easily keep going back down again? Like, are we good with that? And she was like, yeah, just, like, as soon as we get to the, like, if we get to the hospital and our pressures don't come up above 90, then, like, throw a 4-lead on her. And I was like, okay, once again, outside my scope. But sure, I can do that for you. So we get going to the hospital, I know, and believe me, I already got a talking to from my other medic partner when I told her about this, because she was like, you should have said something, and I was like, I know, I'm sorry. Anyway, we get to the hospital. I keep hitting the blood pressure, like, every maybe 2 minutes. And so it goes from 95 to 88 to 83 to like 77 by the time we get to the hospital. And I'm like, so I'm going to put that 4-lead on you now. I like call her up to the front. I'm like, hey, by the way, her pressure is now gone from, and I'm updating her every time I'm doing this. I'm like, hey, it just went from 95 to 88. Hey, just from 88 to 83. And it keeps going down. I'm like, okay, I'm putting the 4-lead on her now. Her last pressure was 77. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. That sounds like a good plan. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm so glad you're so chill about this, because I don't know what's happening right now. She keeps dropping. She's laying supine. I'm pushing fluids. Like, she clearly needs more than what I'm able to give her, right? Anyway, we get her into the hospital. The medic took the chart, but it was just like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, now this is 2 times in a row that I feel like you've been dealt a nice big old serving of humble pie and you're still not getting it. Mm-hmm. And like, I appreciate the faith and the trust in me, because like, obviously, but like also at the same time, I'm not a medic. I can't push drugs for this person. Like, I can't do much for her. Mm-hmm. Like, you should be back here maintaining that. You know what I mean? And that's always like such an uncomfortable position, I feel like, to be in as an EMT, is like knowing when to speak up and say something and when not to. And it's like, I feel like I've been doing this long enough that I should know better. And yet at the same time, I'm like, well, they believe in me. They trust me to take this. So it must be me. Like,
but at what point is it their failure? You know, like,
right.
If they're not learning from the humble pie.
Yeah. Then like, what are they? Yeah.
I mean, strictly based on like our protocols alone, both of those calls should have been theirs.
Totally.
But I've also been trying to get into like my EMT trainee's head that, yes, you want to know your protocol, but also just take a peek at your ALS protocol, because if it's something that falls in, a single episode, it needs a 12-lead.
Totally, yeah.
Hyperglycemic, it needs a 12-lead. Those are just things that are like kind of little, it's probably like, oh, they're fine, it was a momentary thing, but like per our protocol, that needs to be done. And if your medic is just being lazy or complacent, get spicy.
I know.
Get spicy. I tell people all the time.
I'm so bad at getting spicy. You know this. I'm way too at the wrong times. At the times that I should be spicy, I'm not spicy enough. And the times that I shouldn't, I
have had to rein you in sometimes. But like, you got to like take it down a notch.
You're at a 9. We need you at a 4.
This is true. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, something that's like, really, you should get a little spicy. She's like, no, it's cool.
No, I'm good. I'm chilling. Whatever.
No.
So I was at the wrong times.
Yeah. Spicy needed.
I'm gonna stop telling people you're spicy. Like, she's not.
No, it's all a facade. Don't.
No, it really is. Like,
don't press me. It's a bluff.
I swear I'm not. Yeah.
You just gotta like WWAD, right?
Yeah.
What would Allie do?
I know.
Right? Like,
so true.
let your Allie come out a little bit.
No, this is true.
The spiciness.
If that were the case, yeah.
That's too spicy.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. Actually, that would be a lot to.
Those poor firemen. The whole time I was pregnant, I'm pretty sure I made a few of them tear up a little bit. I was like, dude, all right, I gotta rein it in. My bad, but also be better.
But also, you better learn from this.
I can't put my boots on without a shoehorn. Okay, I need you to help me.
On that note, what's everyone drinking? What do we think of what we're drinking? Wait, what do you got?
I drank a Woodland Empire Bicycle Picnic Golden Ale, and it was delightful.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
That's a nice can.
It is a nice can.
I like the
got,
can.
Feel it. It's got a nice like kind of texture to it.
It does.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. No, it was good.
I just
about
have a Boise Light. All locals should know what this tastes like.
Water.
Yeah.
Water. Yeah, it's Bud Light, but from Boise.
I have Destill Brewery. How do you say that?
Distill.
Distill.
Dusty Hill.
Okay, score
Adidas.
1 for Nide. Spicy pickle sour beer. I will say I'm not a big beer person, and I'm not really a big sour beer person either, but this is really delicious.
That's
I love this.
How
this
pickle is it?
It's like
How full
100%
is this?
pickle.
How full is it?
Sorry,
oh,
I didn't
that's
realize you
almost
were
gone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
like
gross.
no. I will say I will probably be burping up pickle as I continue out throughout my day.
It's
but
so much
yes.
sodium.
Stop. Don't make me feel bad about it.
I think
So
you need to
good.
take notes from your can and add some spicy, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
And then I should be good, huh? That should
Yeah.
help me. Yeah.
Just drink more spicy pickles. You'll be fine.
It should be good, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Love it.
seems like we are out of time for the day. So, like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, all the things, and we'll catch you next time. Finger guns.